Well, thank you for joining us today. Today I'm talking with Deb Johnson at the Divorce Resource Center. We're going to be talking all about the discovery process on the front end of the divorce. So Deb, you and I just finished up where you were kind of asking me some questions about real estate. Now it's my turn to grill you here. So, but before we start, I think I just want to point out, I think one of the reasons that we've connected so well is really because I've been so impressed with how you are really people-focused first. And, your whole business model, I think, kind of frames around all of that. How do you take care of people first? And then we'll put all the nuts and bolts in place and get all of that, situated underneath that. And so I just want to, give you a little shout out for that, because I think it's very commendable what you guys are creating here. So, so speaking of the nuts and bolts, though, one of the first parts of this whole process is going to be the discovery process.
Right.
What is the discovery process? What does that look like? And from your perspective, especially the financial perspective, what does all that look like?
Okay. Primarily, that's a good question, and the clients will hear the word discovery throughout the process. And in the way of background, Colorado has what's called, there's a specific rule in the divorce statute that mandates all finances be disclosed. So everything gets on the table, there's no, hide the ball, it's all in good faith. That's what we always hope, it's done in good faith.
Right.
But what we need to start with are things like, we need to take a look at the current mortgage, we need to take a look at all the current real estate documents, and I'm so happy to hear that I have your expertise in looking at that now. Then, the tax returns, 3 years of that, the bank statements, and it truly is a long list of items with any, if there's businesses involved or automobiles, whatever, mountain homes. And so once that information starts coming in, then I'm able to categorize it basically by tax class and start getting a picture of their current financial situation.
Right.
Because I know that every time I've divided one household into two financially in a divorce, there's never been enough money to go around.
Right.
Even those that earn $1 million, they spend $1 million too. So, right. But when we stop and think about it, and I actually encourage parents to talk through this. When you move, that is if you separate homes, we want the impact on the kids to be minimal.
Right.
So we don't want them packing all their suitcases at mom's to carry over to dad's for dad's weekend.
Right.
And so I asked them to talk through and think through, what are they going to do to set up two households, two sets of bunk beds, and the kids, what about their clothes? You don't want them taking clothes and toys and bikes back and forth.
Right.
And obviously, there's an expense associated with that. And I think that one of the things that feedback I've gotten from clients that's very helpful is working with them to create the realistic forward-looking budget.
Right.
The court wants to know what the lifestyle of the marriage was, what the spending was then. But as a financial planner, I want to look forward. Number one, can they afford what they're doing? Number two, the way the assets are going to be divided, are they going to last?
Right.
Number three, if we have an unemployed or underemployed spouse or the homemaker that's going to have to get a job, what about training involved there?
Yeah.
And it's just, I've seen even with, for instance, in the traditional setting, fathers have a parenting plan all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're used to the routine and one of the parents, the doctor's appointments in the school, this and that and the other thing, but that all changes. And I don't think that we do a really good job of talking families through the implementation of the parenting plan to begin with. But the other thing I look at is, we go down the list of forward-looking expenses, and we get out the red pen. Because the other thing that's critical is their cash flow. No longer are they going to file married jointly. Their tax filing status changes, which means their taxes change, and they need to know that, to avoid the April 15th surprise. Right. So it's very, very complex as we start untangling the finances, and then we build them back up in what this is a possibility of what your post-divorce could look like,
Right.
financially.
Well, but it sounds like when you're talking about discovery, there's the discovery of all the finances and stuff, but that sounds like that's just one little component, one little piece. How does that discovery process kind of, I mean, it sounds like you're kind of tying a lot of different components together. How does that discovery process kind of tie in with the whole picture, the family picture, the emotional picture? Am I making sense?
Yeah, but unfortunately, our discovery process kind of leaves the emotional part and the family part out. It's pretty much,
makes sense.
Black and white. These are the financial documents that we need. But that's great to point out, because one of the things that I think is important too is that we as a discovery, we spend some time with our the mental health colleagues and the family with the kids. What do the kids need? Here they're 3 years old. Is a 50-50, 1 week on, 1 week off, acceptable? So I think we spend time discovering not only the hardcore financial, but the needs of the family, the emotional needs.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
You said it much better than I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the needs, and that's very important to be able to uncover those. And
well, right, because if you're trying to figure out what your next steps are, you have to have that whole picture. And so that makes a lot of sense, that you're not just looking at the numbers, but you're also looking at all of the other needs that are part of it.
Yeah. And I think one other thing that I get distressed over is when there are those tax surprises. For instance, I think it's probably been 6-7 months by now, but a woman came in to me post-divorce. She needed some financial help, and she said, yeah, we're done with the divorce. We split everything 50-50, right down the middle. He fought for the home equity, and he could have that because that's where I caught him cheating, and I have nightmares in that house. I hate it. He never let me work, so I never got the IRA. Well, she got the $400,000 IRA, and he got the $400,000 home equity. And I had to explain that it really wasn't 50-50. He got $400,000, she got $310,000, because it's not been taxed, you know. And so we need to know that up front so that we can properly distribute the tax burden. As we're dividing.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
That's a web.
Yeah.
That's a big web.
Good way to describe it. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank you for explaining all of that.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching today. If any of this resonated with you, feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks a lot and have a great day.